just made.
All right, let's move to your 5 tips. We've literally got 5 minutes. You're going to have to do a minute per tip if you can, Stuart.
Well, it was hard enough in the first place, Mark, because you said, look, can you come up with sort of 5 ways of interacting or communicating with your customers better? And I sat down. It was really right. If you'd have said 25 or 50, it might have been okay. But so these are, I suppose, are some of the top 5, if you like, not necessarily in any form of order. The first one, Mark, is very much about effective communication. Do you remember the Two Ronnies sketch, 4 Candles? Where they sort of, a guy goes into a shop and they just can't communicate with each other. And it's an absolute classic bit of British comedy that sort of shows that everything has more than one meaning. I use that sketch in my training when I'm working with people to really highlight how easy it is to miscommunicate with other people.
Is that with the BlackBerry and stuff?
No, it's much older. It's like set in a hardware shop.
Right, okay.
And he goes and he asks for 4 candles, but actually what he needs is he's broken the handle on his garden fork. So 4 candle was actually a 4 candle.
Right, okay.
And he asked for a plug. And the guy thinks he wants a bathroom plug, but it's not. It's actually a plug for a 3-pin plug and all that sort of stuff. And it goes on like that for about 8 minutes. He talks about O's, and the guy thinks it's a hose pipe or a hoe. And it turns out he wants some letter O's for the name on his gate and all this sort of stuff. And it is just a classic piece of miscommunication. So the reason that I use it is, in the modern world where we're just bombarded with acronyms, and all that sort of stuff. It is very, very easy to assume when we're talking to customers that they are actually understanding exactly the same meaning in the words that we're using. And actually, when you actually investigate that, you find that quite often you're not, and you are at cross purposes. So it sounds like common sense, and a lot of these things are common sense, but I'm telling you now, I'm out there on a day-to-day basis, they're not common practice. Mm-hmm. So first of all, make sure there's effective communication. Now, I ask a question. Who's at fault? Is it the person that's buying the product, or is it the seller? Most people come up with the answer that they're both at fault. And that's true. It is all of our responsibility to make sure that we communicate with other people. But here's the thing. If you are selling something, if you get it wrong, it is often you that has to pay to put it right. So I insist, and I really do reinforce to people that I'm working with, that it is your responsibility as the provider of a seller or product, that it's your responsibility to ensure effective communication, not the other way around. So that would be my first advice. I've got a 3-letter acronym, having said that we're bombarded by them. ACE, ACE. Great for communication, to make sure you're on the same wavelength. The A stands for acknowledge. When somebody says, or you're trying to check that you've got mutual understanding, first of all, acknowledge what they've said. The C stands for clarify and confirm. Ask them a question. Make sure that their understanding of the word is the same as yours. And then finally, the E stands for explain. Once you know you're on the same wavelength, that's great. If you're not on the same wavelength, that gives you the opportunity to explain the differences. So that's my first point. That's effective communication. Okay. The second point, we touched on a little bit earlier. Your products or services aren't great because you say so. You don't have the right to say that. Only your customers have the right to say how good your products and services are. So one thing a lot of companies that I work with don't do. And
this show was made with a trial version of propaganda software.
If you can give a
you can remove this message by buying the full version.
Customer saying how good you are, that is worth far more than you telling them yourself. So you must gather case studies and use testimonials. That would be number 2. The third one is an absolute classic. There are a lot of people out there that are selling fairly technical products or services, and what they tend to do is to bombard the customer with how it works. And to be quite honest, we don't care. Yeah, what we care about is what it can actually do for us. What is the benefit of buying this product or service? What can it do for me? I don't really understand how electricity works, but I can put a switch on and I can have light. I don't really understand how a car engine works, but it doesn't stop me jumping in my car and driving somewhere. So, it's what the item can do for people that's important, not how it does it. Mm-hmm. So don't get bogged down in those things. So that was number 3. Number 4 is something that's very close to my heart, and it is trust. Selling is about influencing people, and there's a simple fact: you cannot influence people unless they trust you. Okay? Now, unfortunately, we hear stories and, people tell us in the past, it takes years to build trust and seconds to lose. Well, actually, in selling, we don't have that luxury. We have to build trust in minutes, and you can do it. Now, for me, you win trust when what you say you are going to do and what you actually do are 100% aligned. So, if you ask somebody for 2 minutes of their time, take 2 minutes of their time, not 10. If you say you're going to send them an email at the end of the conversation, send it at the end of the conversation, not an hour later. The more you have the opportunity to say something and actually deliver on it when you said you would, every one of those building blocks helps to build trust. The higher the value of the product or service that you're selling, the more vital it is to have trust. So that's was number 4. Number 5. You've got to understand that people will buy things for different reasons. I'm here to tell you that the good news is people only ever buy things for 2 reasons: to gain an advantage or to avoid losing something. So whatever it is that people buy from you, are they buying it because they're going to make more money, or make savings, or get peace of mind because it's some form of insurance, or are they buying it to avoid a loss? So again, insurance might be bought as an avoid a loss situation. The only way you will find out why somebody is buying something is to ask them. And far too many salespeople spend too much time talking to the customer and not enough time listening to the customer. I urge all of you sort of business owners out there, absolutely. There's a Franklin Covey habit, 7 habits of highly effective people. One of them is seek first to understand and then to be understood. And I think if you can grasp that and use it, that's a very, very valuable sales lesson to learn.
Very good, Stuart. I really appreciate you opening up those 5 points. Fantastic. How do people find out more information about you? How do they engage with you?
Yeah, the best thing for them to do, Mark, to be quite honest, is I'm a big fan of Twitter, as I know you guys are here at the station.
Yep.
So my Twitter handle, if you like, is at Stuart Allen, A-L-L-E-N, at Stuart Allen, FCMI. That's FCMI. If people follow me on Twitter, there's all my contact details there if they need and want to get hold of me.
Great. It's been great to have you in the studio. I really appreciate just your value and just sharing those tips with us.
It's been my pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Stuart. Thank you.